Noa Landau joins us from Tel Aviv. Noa, it's great to see you on. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that tensions are high on all sides. That conversation with Ida is just one example. And before we get to your recent column, I do want to get your take on what you just heard from Ida.
Hi, Biana. Listen, I've been a journalist in Israel for more than 15 years now, and I've never seen anything like what is happening right now on the ground. This is not only about the conflict or the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. This is also about what is happening within Israel between Jews and Arabs or Jews and Palestinians in Israel. This is something that I really think, I heard Ida's voice. I think that, that also tells us a little bit about the situation also emotionally for many Jews and Arabs in the country right now. I've never seen so much violence and clashes between citizens. This is, and I know this sounds harsh, but this is a civil war between citizens.
And Ida, I think she was trying to avoid that terminology and focus on the larger conflict between Israel and the Palestinian territories in Gaza this past week. But obviously, there is a lot of pent-up resentment and tension and unspoken anger amongst neighbors who just a few weeks ago were living and working side by side and sort of, the pride of the world in the sense of, look at the vaccination rate, the economy was doing better, and now we're here. Can you help us explain where this all came from?
Well, of course, you can't really separate between the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the occupation and the situation that we're now seeing within Israel. It's, of course, connected. And part of the problem is that many politicians in Israel, and I think Israel as a state, they tried for many years to separate the two issues, calling Palestinians within Israel Israeli Arabs. Some would agree with that terminology, some would not. So there's an attempt to Israelize Palestinian within Israel and claim that as long as they only focus on their civil rights, that's okay. But once they start, talking about their national identity and identify with the Palestinians, that's where things go wrong. And I think for many years, you've mentioned my op-ed today, I think for many years, Israelis just didn't really want to listen to the fact that that coexistence that you've just described between neighbors is actually based on some kind of a lie, because the neighbors, being neighbors is fine as long as the Palestinian neighbor doesn't really talk about his or her national identity or identifies with the Palestinians. If they're only, just citizens and they only discuss their civil rights, then that's fine. But once we talk about the national issue, that's a different thing.
And it's something, as you explain in your op-ed, that many Israelis on the left as well just didn't face, right, and didn't acknowledge because they weren't seeing these kind of protests on the street. But you look at the 2018 national state law, the right to exercise national self-determination in Israel is unique to the Jewish people. It establishes Hebrew as the official language, downgrades Arabic. I mean, there was a lot there which many Arab Israelis and Palestinian Israelis, obviously now, as we're talking about this, were really upset from and felt that they are second-class citizens. Let's read from your piece today. What stood out to me is you saying for too long the Jews in Israel, on both the right and the left, have been living in an illusion of coexistence. And this is something that I think for our viewers in America in particular and around the world, many can relate to. You go on and say now, like the feminist movements and the black protests in the United States, the time has come for Arab women and men in Israel to force us to hear and see them shattering the glass ceiling, crushing their aspirations. Talk about how that can be done.
Well, the part you read about the illusion of coexistence, this is by a young Palestinian Israeli writer named Janan Basol. She wrote in Haaretz about how her feelings about how this is actually an illusion, and that they had for many years they had to keep silent about things that were bothering them, such as being second-class citizens in a Jewish state, no matter how you turn that around. I think Jews in Israel should really listen to them. And as you mentioned, this is a problem from the right wing to the left wing. Also, the left Zionist wing also needs to hear some of the voices of young Palestinians in Israel that have very harsh criticism against Zionism. We need to hear them. We need to hear those voices. This is something that it's very easy to ignore while talking about, beautiful coexistence, but we need to face the reality. And I do think that, like feminism and the Black Lives Matter movement, in the end, the problem is that there are certain parts of society all over the world that they don't really acknowledge the glass ceiling that others in the same place face. And the first step to solve it is to listen and to hear them.
It's unfortunate that it takes a crisis like this, as in many crises that we have here in the States, to sort of talk about these underlying issues that obviously go in further depth and require much more time to talk about and deal with than the few days that we've been covering this crisis. But when I do have you here, I want to ask you about the latest developments. We know that the U.S. and now Germany is calling for a ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that he needs more time. Do you see a ceasefire on the horizon in the next coming days?
This is really frustrating because, so many journalists in Israel and Palestine have been covering these ceasefires over and over again. It's the same old story. We know that the Egyptians and the UN and the world is going to intervene and they're going to force the ceasefire, and it's not going to solve anything, because as long as we're in this vicious cycle of war and ceasefire, we'll never have a real solution. This, in the end, needs to be a diplomatic solution. Everyone understands that, but we're trapped in this loop.
Does Benjamin Netanyahu want a diplomatic solution? You hear time and time again this past week that this helps him, right? That he had been on the verge of political death, and here he is again revived as the country's facing yet another election. Does this help him, and do you think it's too sinister to be talking about this way?
I'm cautious about talking about his intentions, right? Because we don't really know his deep intentions. No one knows. But, if we look at it objectively, yes, the situation helped him, because his rivals, the people who tried to establish a different government, they failed just because of the situation, because they couldn't establish a government that includes Jews and Arabs, which was the only solution to replace him while this is going on. So the situation objectively definitely helped Netanyahu. Did he intend for this to happen? I can't be that cynical, and honestly, I do not know.
And the country was on the cusp of having a potential coalition between Jews and Arabs until this fighting started just a few weeks ago. It's interesting because Benjamin Netanyahu says that he's received many reviews from many attacks against Hamas and Islamic Jihad, and they've received blows that they did not expect. I have no doubt that we took them back many years. That is quoting Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it's interesting because one of your colleagues, Aluf Ben, writes that this is Israel's most failed and pointless Gaza operation ever. It must end now. It seems to be two very different takes on the situation. Who's right here?
Well, of course, I can only tell you my opinion. I think Aluf is right. I think that this is, many Israelis understand that this is pointless, that, again, we're in a vicious loop that never ends between war and ceasefire. So the way that I see it, and of course, many Israelis will disagree, this is a pointless war.
Noa Landau, it's been wonderful having you on. We appreciate your insights. Please come back. Thank you.